Welcome to the Steelers by the Lake podcast. My name is James Strong, joined once again by my co-host Cody Tanner. Cody, how are you on this frigid Sunday morning?
Frigid Sunday morning is right, James. I had to fix my car in the middle of a parking garage last night to make it home. So I'm doing splendid, all things considered. Good week at the gym, good week at work. James, how are you doing?
Doing good too, man. Got a nice increase on the bench yesterday. Kind of still babying things, but sets of 15, you can surprise yourself on what you can do sometimes.
There we go. It's all about that gains at Jim Strong. If you don't know about Jim Strong, you're not in the know and you don't need to know. Anyways, speaking of the gym, some fun stuff real quick. I'm going to talk about this real briefly. Some fun interactions happen when you get to talk to people, get to know people. I'm not going to say who, I'm not going to say anything else, but there's a chance we might have a special guest in the upcoming future. Someone that I met at the gym. Very excited for the potential, just passionate about the Pittsburgh Steelers and other things that could come with that. Someone who's very kind of in the might be our own insider, I guess you
connected, man.
Yeah,
she's connected.
She is connected. So real excited about that. Look forward to that maybe in a couple weeks. Not exactly sure timeline there, but looking forward to that. James, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. Before we go too far, Steelers by the Lake news.
Yes.
We got
Steelers by the Lake news. Let's talk about last month and the successes and who were our top dogs. I'll start off with the States, Pennsylvania, ringing in number 1. Not a big surprise there. Virginia, who's been in the top a lot lately, getting number 2. Number 3, Texas is back. So nice to see our listenership in Texas resuming. Missouri coming in at number 4. They've been real strong for the last year or so. And then Ohio, maybe even Jill from Ohio, at number 5.
Jill, we thank you. We're waiting to get her back on the show too. Jill is very busy with the teacher life and the things that she's got going on. Top countries, James. Number 1 being the United States of America. We're not surprised that you guys download the most shows. Number 2, Ukraine. Makes you wonder with all the things going on. What
we got troops there for sure.
Number 3, Switzerland. Number 4, Canada. And number 5, Japan. Top 5 downloaded countries last month. So thank you guys. We'd love to hear where you guys found us, what brought you to be a Steelers fan. If you want to share any aspect of your story of fandom when it comes to how you became a Steelers fan or how you became a fan of us here at Steelers by Lake, we'd love to hear it and share it on the show. So DM us on social media or email us at steelersbylake@gmail.com. James.
And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, feel free to give us a 5-star review. Been a little bit since we've had the one. We will give you a shout out if you do so.
That is very true.
Omar Khan finally talking to the media, Cody. We haven't heard from him in quite a while. We learned a little bit on his insights on thoughts about the roster.
Yep.
Number 1, Najee Harris. They've not closed the door on possibly bringing him back. Rumors are they've been talking to his agent while at Indianapolis. So there is a possibility we could still see Najee Harris return to the black and gold for this upcoming season. And then one that's probably the biggest of all of them. Cody, what do you say about our playmakers?
Listen, he said all the playmakers are on offense. He's just kidding. He also said we had to add more playmakers on offense, which is weird. Listen, I say, huh?
I don't think it's weird.
I know that you guys don't. There's a lot of people that don't. My frustration comes from the fact that I think we have a ton of playmakers now. We have Calvin Austin, who can break the seam and get past the safeties. We have George Pickens, who's a freak of nature. We have Darnell Washington, who is a freak of nature. We have Pat Freiermuth, who has proved to be consistent with his catching ability and run after catch ability. And then we also have Jaylen Warren technically still. There's a potential of having Najee still. And then that's before even getting to the new brute of a tight end we just signed, the multifunctional Connor Hayward, who may or may not return. Like, there's so many guys that I think we do have. We haven't even seen Roman Wilson yet. How are you going to say we need to add more playmakers when we haven't even seen one? And if he could be a playmaker, I know you're going to have something to say. Go for it.
I will tell you exactly why we should say that. And that's because how many of these guys, when you touch the ball, do you think, man, here we go, he's probably going to take it to the house? It's a short number, right? It's probably the wide receivers, and that's it. You really don't get that feeling out of the running back room. You definitely don't get that feeling out of the tight end room. None of those guys are take it to the house kind of guys where they're going to shake 2 or 3 guys and take it all the way. We have a bunch of guys that are playing power. And I don't mind that. I like power football, but it's not playmaking. There's a difference. I think what he's talking about is those explosive guys that anytime they touch the ball could take it to the house. And I think we have a few of those guys at wide receiver. I think George Pickens is that. I think Calvin Austin has shown the ability to be that. And I think Roman Wilson is just a complete question mark with 5 offensive snaps last year before missing the rest of the season due to injury and missing all the season previous to that due to injury.
Yeah.
So I think probably what he's mostly saying is maybe a more dynamic running back, somebody who has more of home run hitting capability than what even Jaylen Warren has, because he was the more dynamic of the 2 guys, but he didn't do it last year. He had like 1 touchdown on the entire season last year.
Something like that.
Yeah, so just it wasn't there. And then
But I'm still
George Pickens, it wasn't really there. The number 2 wide receiver was a real big issue last year, where Van Jefferson might as well not even been on the field most of the season.
Yeah.
So you got to upgrade whoever the number 2 wide receiver is, and you need more big plays from your running backs and tight ends.
I'm still going to die on the hill that part of that came from playmaking or part of that came from play calling and the ability of the quarterbacks. Quite frankly, you lose an aspect of the field when Russell Wilson's in there because he has to throw through lanes. He can't throw over the offensive line because he can't see. That drastically changes what your offense can do. And then Justin Fields just but I don't feel like he was drastically inaccurate once he got rolling on that 6-2 or 4-2 stretch, whatever he did in those first, it was 4-2 in those first 6 games. But he was still learning the offense. He was still getting comfortable. Listen, I think everyone was too harsh on both of them because they're both first year in a new offense under a new coordinator in a completely new system. But like I can't say that we saw the best of what they had because I didn't like most of the play calling. And I know that people can say, well, Russell Wilson checked down because he, whatever, or Justin Fields checked down because whatever. I don't care why they did. I want to see an offensive coordinator understand the weaknesses of his team and call plays accordingly. And I don't think we saw that. So I don't want to go too far onto that hill because that's a long conversation that I'm sure we'll get into once the season starts again and see how things have changed, if there's a different quarterback under center or if it's Justin, if it's Russell, whatever. But it's hard to say that we don't have playmakers when with an aging Ben Roethlisberger, Pat Freiermuth had 7 or 8 touchdowns in a season.
Then he had 7 last year.
And that's my point. But 7 touchdowns as a tight end is phenomenal. I don't think we threw it to the wide receivers enough. With our quarterbacks, it's awesome. Let's clarify.
Yeah.
In that system under that year and how that was operating. Like you had a rookie Chase Claypool, but didn't he end up with 11?
Yeah, I think like
and then it was nothing after that.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to say that we don't have enough playmakers on offense when I don't think we're using the playmakers we have accordingly or correctly. So
and I agree with you to a degree there. I think that either one of those quarterbacks, if they return for this season, would probably give you a little more than what we saw out of them last year. Being more comfortable in the system and having better chemistry with those guys around you has a lot to do with your success in the league. You can't expect good success if you're changing coaches all the time. You can't expect good success if you're changing players all the time. You need some consistency. Is no problem adding to a group, but you can't have like major turnover year after year and expect to have drastic results.
Yep.
I just think that last year personnel usage was an issue. There was
100%.
way too much Van Jefferson on the field. Way too much Scotty Miller on the field, way too much Michael Pruitt and Connor Hayward on the field, and way too much quarter pounder Patterson on the field.
Oh my gosh.
Way too much of all of those back of the roster guys. I don't care how many snaps they get. I just don't. Get the most talented guys on the field, get the ball in their hands, you'll get better results.
Yep.
So with that being said, if you want to get better players on your team, having more room in a salary cap definitely helps out with that, right, Cody?
Yeah. Yeah. Salary cap officially upped to $279.2 million. So that is huge. Pittsburgh has a lot of playing room now. I think what, 60,
About 60 mil.
60 mil.
Yeah, 60 mil, maybe a hair over.
Yeah. So that'll be really good for them. But speaking of financial benefits, James, Steelers by the Lake here is support for Steelers by the Lake, is in part by or is supplied by the Edinburgh Hotel Bar, located at 100 Meadville Street in downtown Edinburgh, offering daily lunch and dinner specials from 11 a.m. to 2 a.m. or 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. No, it is 2 a.m. You're wrong. Whatever. For more information, call 814-734-5103 or visit edinburghhotelbar.com. And I believe they used to be open. The kitchen used to be open till 2. It's now like 11. I was there last night. I got there at 11:30. Was big sad that I could not order food. But that's okay. Phenomenal food, phenomenal place. If you ever go in there, it is a small local bar for Edinburgh, Pennsylvania, and big Steelers atmosphere in this small but cozy bar for sure. James has been there. We've had a good time there, a time or two. So go check them out. They are awesome people, and we love to support small businesses, even though they're one of the bigger ones around for this local little town. James, let's talk about this combine. NFL Combine is now in the books.
Yeah, and I think it's pretty exciting on what we saw specifically from guys that Pittsburgh should be targeting and positions that Pittsburgh should be targeting. So I kind of want to go through 3 positions that I feel are extremely important for Pittsburgh to address in this upcoming draft class. No surprise, you're going to hear me talk about defensive tackles first. Now, what I've got next to each one of these guys, Cody, so that you understand my key here, you see TS and then a number with a circle around it.
Yep.
That is Trevor Sikkema. Trevor Sikkema is the lead NFL draft evaluator for Pro Football Focus. He's been doing football evaluation and talent evaluation for like 10 plus years. I've been listening to him on podcast form for probably 7 or 8 years at least by now.
Gotcha.
And he's absolutely incredible at it. So the first guy we're going to talk about is Derek Harmon. And I believe that Derek Harmon should be a very large person on your radar as far as who Pittsburgh could be targeting in the first round. His weigh-in was great at 6'4.5", 313 pounds with 34 3/8 inch long arms. That's height, weight, length, exactly what you're hoping for in a 3-4 defensive end with ability to kick inside in pass rushing situations. For such a huge guy, he ran really well with a 4.95 40. Had a 1.74 on his 10-yard split, which shows good first couple steps burst. All around good player. So he's good against defense. He's got a good anchoring ability, good at getting after the quarterback. And the number 4 defensive tackle, according to Trevor Sikkema, in this upcoming draft class. So there's a real possibility of him being there at number 21. And I believe he should be the first person that we really, really look at as there's a strong possibility of Pittsburgh wanting this guy and taking him.
Yep. Yeah. No, I'm right there with you. Again, it's unfortunate he didn't do any of the other drills, especially the bench press. But James, we talked about this yesterday. A lot of these guys will shave off some weight before they go to the combine to run fast and to maybe jump high if they do verticals or whatever, to be a little bit more athletic. But he should bulk up a little bit more and do the bench press at his pro day at Oregon. So excited to see those numbers again. I'm waiting for the day someone breaks the record again. I want to see it. With the things that we're learning about muscles and how to grow and be stronger and those things, it's only a matter of time before people run faster and lift heavier weights more number of times. So super excited to see those numbers grow. But yeah, I'm on board with Derek Harmon. I think he would be an easy step up. Probably instant starter over Keanu. I mean, if you get him early enough and everything, but I think they'd still do the same thing they do with the defensive ends is they'd do some kind of rotation, get some rest, but that would increase the depth of that position drastically and immediately. So
yeah, and I think if you take him, the person who's the odd man out is going to be Larry Ogunjobi. He would be your base 3-4 defensive end opposite of Cam Hayward. Benton would stay in the middle. And then in pass rushing situations, you get a healthier rotation, like you said. So when it's only two guys out there, you probably have Benton and Hayward to start, and then he gets to come in on the second wave, and you feel a little bit better about that, having a guy like that, and he might even overtake Keanu Benton's role because that's the kind of talent this guy has.
Yep.
Now, number two, Cody,
Yep.
Go ahead if you have more to talk about.
No. I was just going to say move on to Darius, so go for it.
Yes, Darius Alexander. This is a kid from Toledo, and according to Trevor Sikkema, his number 5 defensive tackle with some versatility again here. We're talking 6'3" and 7/8", so basically 6'4", 305 pounds with 34-inch long arms. Fantastic there. He was able to pull off a 4.95 40-yard dash with a 1.72 split, and he put up 28 reps. 28 is very impressive with that kind of length. He did his jumps too, and they were pretty good, just not like crazy. But when you're talking over 300 pounds, if you can run under a 5 flat 40 at over 300 pounds, that's very impressive. And both of these first two guys show exactly that. So I think both of them would be a great situation. Either one of those guys in the first round, I'm extremely excited about the future possibility. Alexander's a little bit older prospect. Due to COVID, he was actually in college for 6 years. Dang. So he's 24 and will be 25 his rookie season, as to where Derek Harmon, a younger prospect out of the two of them.
Yeah. I will say this about Alexander. He's been known in a lot of his, in a lot of his scouting reports and stuff. It's been talked about that he needs to increase his arsenal of counter moves. Mm-hmm. And when I see like that, all I think about is, okay, get him in there and let him talk to Cam. Let him talk to TJ.
Yep.
So
that's it. We got guys that can teach him that, and a really good defensive line coach too. And a thing that I think will have him very heavily on Pittsburgh's radar. They're known for taking guys in the draft that play real well against the University of Pittsburgh. He had a pick 6 against Pitt.
Dang.
So
was that in that 6 overtime game?
It was an overtime, yes. I don't know if it was 6 overtime, but it was an overtime game. So
that 6 overtime
I think it was like a playoff game or something for them. So
gotcha.
Yeah, pretty big deal there. Last defensive lineman I want to talk about today, and honestly, like the whole group collectively had a really nice day. But this is just another guy that I feel like would fit the scheme of what Pittsburgh looks for. Joshua Farmer out of Florida State. Yep. 6'3" and 2/8", so a little on the shorter side compared to the last two guys. 305 pounds. Again, the weight we're looking for. 35-inch long arms. That is incredible length. Only ran a 5.1 140 with a 1.77 split. 26 reps on the bench, so good strength too. So not as quick as the other two guys, but his 10-yard split was still good, so that short area quickness was good. So that's great. Height, length, and a good strong bench too at that extreme length. So another guy could easily be in Pittsburgh's radar. Trevor's got him at number 10 on his defensive tackle list. So this is more of a second or third round prospect, more likely. And if Pittsburgh were to decide to go a different position other than defensive tackle in the first round, Josh Farmer could be a target in that second or third round range.
Yeah. Yeah, people are really big also talking about the Michigan guy, Mason Graham. That is not someone that I think Pittsburgh's either going to target or, quite frankly, if he might even be there when they go up in the draft. So
he's expected to be a top 5 pick, and honestly, it was a bad weigh-in for him.
It was a bad weigh-in. He only did 24 reps on the bench, which, don't get me wrong, is still strong. But when you look at the other guys that are behind him, 26, 28, he could have done better. So very interesting.
And when you're talking about that, he only had 32-inch long arms too, Cody. So it's not that he had really long arms and that was hurting him in the bench. He has short arms and didn't bench all that great.
Yep.
So that's just a bad one for him, unfortunately. What was he here? He weighed in 6'3", 296. So short arms, didn't run. Not a great bench. He's still going to go top 5, top 10 most likely.
Yeah.
But it was a bad weigh-in for him. We'll put it that way.
Yep. James, you want to talk about some corners?
Yes. Yeah, there's some real avatar guys and some guys maybe that they should target as far as nickel corner too. So first guy has already been rumored as someone that Pittsburgh would be looking at, which is Darian Porter. I want to say he was Iowa State, if I remember correctly. He weighed in at 6'2" and 7/8, 195 pounds, so a little on the light side, but so is Joey Porter Jr. 33 and 1/8 inch long arms. You guys know how much I love long arms on a corner. That just makes all the difference in the world when you're trying to reach around to swat that ball when you're still in a trail position.
Yep.
4.3 flat 40-yard dash, which is just absolutely blazing fast with a 1.50 10-yard split. So that short area quickness, very good also. So good tape, good ball skills, great length, and incredible speed. He might not be there come second round.
Yeah,
as late as we are in the second round, he might not be there anymore at that point. I think a lot of people have him in that like second round range. If he is there, and you already took a defensive tackle in the first round, if you were there in your second round, I would jump all over Darian Porter.
Doesn't matter who else is there. Travis Hunter could be there. You got to grab him.
Better measurables than Travis Hunter.
I will say this, people talk about how good Joey Porter's been outside of a couple penalties. Joey Porter Jr. It would be fun to have Porter and Porter Jr., even though they're not related.
Right.
But anyways.
Right.
Well, it wasn't very fun to have Pickett and Pickens for very long. But with that being said, there are 13 guys that ran faster than Joey Porter Jr. in this combine. So,
and Joey was a 4.46, wasn't he?
4.46.
Yeah. So I mean that's a good speed, but this is elite speed when you're talking in the 4.3s.
Yep.
Next guy, not quite as fast, Jahdae Barron. I believe Pittsburgh has talked to him and had an interview with him. He weighed in at 5'10" and 6/8, 194 pounds, more of a nickel corner, 29 and 5/8 inch on the length. So definitely somebody you're going to want to keep inside. Probably not going to be an outside corner for you. But a 4.3 9.40 and a 1.50 10-yard split. A good compact build. When you're talking about competition for Beanie Bishop, I think Jahdae Barron could be a real nice competition. Was not a Senior Bowl or Shrine Bowl invitee, so might be available in those mid to later rounds.
Yep. Not a lot of guys. I wish these guys would have benched. I understand why they didn't, but none of the guys so far that we talked about did any bench.
Yeah, most did not.
Yeah, there was a handful of guys the cornerbacks that did.
I'll tell you one that did. He's not on my list, but you know his last name already.
Yeah, I do. Strong. Dorian Strong did 15 reps on the bench. But Upton Stout.
Pounds. He's only 180 pounds.
Upton Stout did 21 as a corner.
That's impressive, man. How big's Upton Stout?
Upton Stout from Western Kentucky.
5'8", 181 with 30-inch arms. Yeah, he's built for it.
Yeah.
He's a little tank.
Yep, literally.
That's a good nickel corner option right there.
Yeah, ran a 4.44.
Yeah, that's great.
So
that's great. The last guy I wanted to talk about, there's been a little bit of buzz him with Pittsburgh, is Zah Frazier. Not to be confused with Zach Frazier. Zah, Z-A-H. 6'2" and 7/8, 186 pounds. So another tall, long, thinner dude. 32 and 7/8 inch long arms. So nice long length. And a 4.3 6.40 with a 1.51 10-yard split. So again, elite speed, great length. This would be a little bit later round prospect. So maybe you could get him as a third or fourth round guy.
Yep.
So if you didn't get a corner earlier, might be something you could address in that situation, and he would fit what they're looking for with that Corey Trice, Joey Porter Jr. kind of mold.
Yep. Would love to see that. James, there's a running back I think you want to talk about. I mean, I know there's a running back I want to talk about.
There's a few, man. I'd love to talk about all of them, but these guys were fast, man. There was like 10 of them that were under a 4.5 40, like faster than a 4.5, which is unheard of. Usually running backs, you get one or two that are faster than a 4.5.
13.
And they're usually 13. Yeah, that's incredible. And usually what you get is those guys are the ones that are like 185 pounds or 190 pounds or whatever. We had all kinds of guys running real fast in this one. I just wanted to talk about a few of them real quick. Some of the higher profile ones, because a lot of people do expect Pittsburgh to address that in the draft. Omarion Hampton, one of the top running backs. A lot of people have him as the number 2 running back in this draft class. Weighed in at 5'11 and 6'8", 221 pounds. You're thinking that big, there's no way he ran fast. He ran a 4.46 with a 1.54 10-yard split. So
with a 38-inch vert.
That's talk about short area explosiveness and ability to change direction. That's where you get it at. That's a lot of power in that lower body for him. So
Yep.
built powerfully, but still very fast. That's the kind of thing Pittsburgh should be drooling over.
Absolutely. Let's talk about Trevion Henderson.
Another speed guy, man. A
Yep.
little bit smaller on his stature, 5'10" and an eighth with 202 on the weight, but a 4.4 340. That is really, really fast for a running back in a 1.52 10-yard split. Again, quickness, top end speed. He gets there fast.
Ranked number 1 in athleticism in this combine out of all the running backs. So
that means his jumps and his agilities were really good too.
Yep. He didn't do three cone or the 20-yard shuttle, but 38.5 vert and a 10.8 broad. So
whew, that's an incredible broad jump.
Especially for 5'10. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. And then the last guy, you're going to recognize the last name. This is Trevor Etienne. And yes, it's the younger brother of Travis Etienne, already in the NFL. 5'8" and 6'8", 198 pounds. He ran a 4.42 with a 1.51. So showed some really good explosiveness and speed. Tape isn't as good on him as it is on the other two guys, so he's probably like a 4th round or later type dude. But if you're looking for change of pace and speed, there it is with Trevor Etienne. Really wish we would have got more out of Cam Scatterbo. He opted out on most of the drills. He did jump though, Cody.
Yep, he did, and he jumped high, 39.5-inch vert.
White men can jump.
Well, apparently that one can.
He
also did the broad jump and jumped to 10'3".
That's great.
Very impressive for, again, his size and stature. He's moving 219 pounds of just freaking nature. So he didn't do himself any injustice, I don't think, by not doing some of the other drills. But the two that he did perform, he performed well in, and I think that was enough for him. I kind of expect him to be a late 2nd, early 3rd round guy at the earliest, depending on what he does as his pro day. So
yeah, I think this is a calculated move. Well, what this shows me is this is a guy that understood what those numbers were going to be, and he competed in what he knew he would do real well in. Yep. He will continue training, and he will do what he can to get that 40-yard dash as good as he can. I won't be surprised if he doesn't weigh in at his pro day, but kind of shows up a little bit lighter in an effort to run as fast as he possibly can. His goal ought to be to get under 4.6. If he can show up at a 4.59 40 or anything even around there, he should be real happy with that, because on tape he gets caught from behind a lot. So you don't expect it to be a real fast time, but boy, does he run hard, man.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. And NFL scouts and NFL GMs and coaches and everything know that. Like, it's not always about speed. Mm-hmm. Speed offers you, breakaway speed. If you have an offensive line that can create some holes, speed at the wide receiver room offers deep balls. There's a lot of different things that, depending on the position, what it offers. So that's the scouts know what they're doing. Don't always look at the numbers. Sometimes you got to think about things differently in a football mind. So again, we can't thank you guys enough for being here. That wraps up the guys that we're talking about here. If there's anyone that stood out to you that you want to talk about, shoot us a DM on social media. We'd love to talk about them, share your thoughts, share our thoughts about them, and do some more things. Don't forget to check out Hardcore Sports Network. James is going to be going live with them right after this show. The show won't be out directly after, but shortly after. So Hardcore Sports Network on YouTube. Go check them out. We can't thank you guys enough. Like I said, be sure to like and follow on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Subscribe, ring the bell. It's free. It doesn't cost you a thing. Don't forget the 5-star reviews and Apple Podcasts make James very happy. And until next time, this is your host, James and Cody, signing off.
Peace.
Steelers